Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell.
Hey, you're going to have another kid here pretty soon. That means a lot of money as far as expenses. Diapers, wet wipes.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
So we actually just did kind of the accounting of what we have from the last kids.
Right.
We realized our car seat, the infant car seat, expired.
Oh, no.
Which, like, as a consumer reporter...
Yeah.
You know, I know to look out for
Yes.
that, but I was expecting it to be still within the right window because our son is 5.5.
Right.
Well, the car seats typically expire between 6 and 10 years. Our manufacturer's expires at the 6-year mark. It's clear that it had been on the store shelves maybe a few months before we bought it for our first son.
Look,
That was one of those expenses. It's like we weren't counting on that extra one.
you have to be, safety is a priority for the
of
kids.
course.
But what deteriorates on a child's car seat that you have to replace it?
Well, I think the concern is just the plastic or the foam that's inside can degrade over time, especially here in Arizona where the weather is less than favorable a lot of times
You know
inside
what I
the
think?
back of a car.
I think it's a money grab by the corporations. They're like, oh, we've got a lot of mamas out there and we don't want to, using it over and over again.
With the third one coming,
Yeah.
so they have to restock. Well, I'm going to restock. I'm going to follow the rules. I'm going to follow the directions and the advice. Better safe than sorry.
You have to because you don't want to have anything happen. What about the clothes situation?
Clothes are good because my daughter, she's turning 3 in July. Baby's due in July. So everything is lining up for the exact season.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that's nice.
So we'll save a little bit on clothes.
That works out perfect. So, you're going to have a little bit of money, but, you're going to be spending time with your kids. You got to feed them, do what moms and dads do. What about a side hustle?
Gosh.
You have time for that.
I don't have any time for the side hustle, but I did have a side hustle at my last job when I was a reporter in a different market before I moved here.
Do
and
tell.
it was the most fun job ever. I sold wedding dresses at a wedding dress shop.
Oh, wow.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I went in a couple days a week on the weekends, and I got to hang out with brides and their moms and their besties, and it was really cool.
So my first TV job was way back in the early 90s, okay? Started in 89, and then like 90, 91, I sold shoes at a luxury shoe store. And when I say luxury, I'm talking in 1990, I was selling men's luxury shoes for $1,000.
Ooh.
Yeah, crocodile shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, they were high.
Those are fancy schmancy.
Very
Did
fancy.
you make commission or were you just hourly?
Just a tiny bit of commission.
Yeah.
I wish it was all commission. But, I'd probably only sell a pair of shoes, $1,000 pair of shoes, 2 a week. So maybe I was glad I was hourly, right?
Did you do that because you wanted to fill time, or did you do it because you needed extra cash?
Yeah, 2 things, because I wanted to fill time. They say the idle mind is the devil's workshop. I don't want any problems in the mental capacity. So I got a job, and it also helped out too. So I think that's why a lot of people get side hustles.
Yeah.
And then probably 10 years ago, I sold with my wife some rustic furniture that she made.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was, those, like old fencing, the old wood, barn wood, stuff like that. So we made tables and stuff like that.
That's
so,
fun.
yeah, she always set up at one of those craft fairs, so that was a nice little side
So
hustle.
you were the muscle behind the side hustle.
She was the looks and the
Artistic talent.
Yes, the artist, and I was just like the guy lugging it out of our
I love
pickup
it.
truck. So, hey, listen, it's not anything wrong with having a side hustle these days.
A lot of people do. I think half of people.
Well, we're going to get into that because I think with the younger generation, I think everybody's like, hey, I want to do YouTube and I don't even need a job anymore. So, forget the priority of the job, and then you have the side hustle. With the younger generation, I think it's just going out the window, but we hope not.
You sound a little bit like get off my lawn right now.
Well, maybe I am that old guy. So today we're going to talk about side hustles and what you can do, maybe just kind of like jog your creativity. We're talking to Kira Caban. She's head of strategic let me start that over. Head of Strategic Communications with Instawork, and that's a company that connects businesses with millions of temporary workers. How are you today, Kira?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the On Your Side podcast. I think you're joining us from kind of like the D.C. area, so thank you very much.
Yes.
What's
And the weather is also not great, so replace your car seat because I also had to do that very recently. It's a thing.
Yeah,
thing.
it is a thing, but that's really too bad. Hey, Kira, so what was your first side hustle? Did you have one?
So I was actually thinking about this, and I also sold wedding dresses in college, and I
Wow.
loved it.
That is,
It was the most fun I've ever had. It was like girly, and people were excited to try on dresses, and we had this one dress, and it was probably the most expensive dress in the store, but it felt like butter when you put it on. And that was the one all of the girls that came in wanted to try on. It was the best summer I ever had doing that.
I
It was
love that we have that in common. It's such a fun thing, and most people don't do that.
Oh, I will tell
love
you
it.
that is an industry. The whole bridal industry is something I would never dip my toe in at all, and I'll tell you why. Because everything has to be perfect. If there's like one little lace that's off, or it's just an eighth of an inch too big, they bust into tears. There's a lot of complaints going on.
But there's also so much joy and so much happiness and excitement.
I think I'm still that get off my lawn guy.
I think with the dress though, it's more about the fun. Like when they're coming into the store, you have your friends, your family, you're just there for the experience. And if they find the right one, it's like icing on the cake.
Exactly.
You don't get the drama that comes later.
I love that.
Hey, so if people want to take summer vacations, or maybe they just want to pay off some current credit card bills, which they should, and they're looking for a little side hustle, what's your first recommendation? Number one, is it a good idea? It sounds like it is. And what would you tell people?
So what I tell people when they ask me about side hustles is I think you have to set a goal for yourself, particularly heading into the summer. It's always an expensive time of year. People want to travel. They just want to be outside more, concerts, all of the fun things. They all cost money, right? And so I think you need to set a financial goal for yourself. If you want to take a vacation, find out how much it costs and literally write it down on a piece of paper so you have that goal. There's apps that can help you do that, but definitely set the goal. The other thing is do something that's fun and that you have experience in. So take stock of your skills, and you may have experience in something like retail, right? Like wedding dresses that you just haven't tapped into, but you thought was a lot of fun. Go back to that. It can be lucrative. You can earn a great hourly rate. And you have that retail experience. If you have food or bartending or service, are you the friend that is always mixing drinks at a cookout? Tap into those skills. There's a lot of businesses in Phoenix that are looking for really great bartenders. So I think it's easier than people think it is.
Yeah, and since we're obviously past the pandemic where it was really hard to get a bartending or a restaurant job, now is the prime time. And I think you were saying that bartenders, I guess with tips and everything, are averaging like right around $24 an hour. Not bad.
Yeah, you can make really great money. In the Phoenix area on the Instawork app, it's averaging about $20 an hour. But again, if you find the right position, like bartending, you can make $20, $30 an hour. And that adds up really quickly. So if you have that financial goal, you'll slowly start to see your bank account accumulate. And before you know it, you're on vacation or going to a concert.
What are some of the other common side hustles that, or maybe not so common side hustles, where people can find an interesting niche if they really are like, ugh, I've done restaurants before. I'm not jumping back into that for any reason.
So I think it's interesting. Everybody thinks about the work from home notion when they think of a side hustle or making some extra money. But as you said, like the pandemic is for better or for worse behind us. And so a lot of people are looking for that in-person experience. Bartending is a great option. All of the professional football stadiums or baseball stadiums in the area are going to be looking for people to work concessions, security, even retail with warehousing associates. Those are things you may not think of when you think of side hustle. But when you look at the hourly rate, and if you work concessions for a concert, Taylor Swift was a big one, that you can get in on the hype, you can experience the music, but you actually get paid to do it instead of having to pay to go, have the experience.
Yeah,
so I think it's an interesting experience.
I was going to say that the event serving is really a great idea because you not only get to see the event that's going on, whether it's a Cardinals game or a Suns game. We used to have the Coyotes, so we can't mention the Coyotes anymore. But then the concerts too. So when you're in those events, particularly in the suites, right, Kira? I mean, in the suites of some of these events, those are high dollar, high rollers. They're big corporations. And I know people who've worked in those before who made a considerable amount of money just in tips.
It's interesting. Those are some of the first work opportunities that get taken on our app, on the Instawork app. We staff, big games like the Super Bowl, and some of those experiences or those concerts where you have those VIP suites. If they're marked on the app, people want to grab them. One, because you never know who you're going to see, right? And I think that's part of the draw. But then you can also make considerable money doing it, and so it's a lot of fun that way.
Yeah, those suites. I mean, depending on the event, they go. Like I said, I don't want to keep sound like a broken record, but it's so much money, and they normally tip based on what they rented that suite for. So it's a great idea, and like you said, I guess I'm not surprised that that's one of the first ones that goes.
How much time do side hustlers actually typically devote to their side hustle?
So it really depends. It depends on what you want to get out of it. So I have definitely talked to people who have used our app or have done side hustles that are like, I just want to save enough money to do this one thing and go on vacation with my family, and I'm just going to make enough money to do that. We've also had people that start off that way and then they're like, wait a minute, this is actually like a great way to make some money. And then they start picking up shifts or side hustles regularly, and they just bake that into their income. And then we also have people who are like, I've done the 9 to 5 thing. I don't really love it. I want the flexibility. I have childcare. I have elderly parents that I want to take care of. I just want to travel the country. And so I'm just going to pick up shifts or work opportunities as I go. And that's probably leveraging the side hustle to like the maximum benefit, right? You write your own adventure and you just, pick up shifts and make money as you go. So it's really up to the person to figure out how much time and energy they want to dedicate to it. But I think it's about having that goal and just getting the most out of it.
What are employers actually looking for out of the side hustler? When I'm coming into this situation, what do I need to be prepared with as a person who is trying to convince an employer that I'm the right person for the job?
Yeah, so it's interesting. A lot of the businesses that we work with at Instawork are light industrial, think warehousing and retail, but also think hospitality. And so they're looking for people who have the skill and the will to work. So whether it's they have experience in bartending or they have food service experience, those are skills that they need that, there's seasonality with a lot of those businesses. So it's easier to staff their business for people who are looking for those opportunities than the other way around. And then you have opportunities where they, the person working the shift may get some new skills while they're working for you. And then all of a sudden that relationship starts to evolve and it turns into a more full-time engagement. But they're looking for skill and they're looking for experience. And particularly if a business is having trouble finding that right fit, then that is where we can help, because the person working the shift is the one finding that opportunity, and it's already a great match. So it's bringing them together in a meaningful way.
I think a lot of employers are having problems finding people to apply. And I'll give you an example. Like if you're looking for a waitress job, but you've never had experience like serving, but you have a great bubbly personality, and don't be afraid to apply for a side hustle that you really don't have a whole lot of experience, because there's other things, other attributes that you could have that could kind of really sway your way in getting hired.
Yeah, I think that people are, if they're interested in a certain job or a certain side hustle, they should definitely pursue it. To your point, if you're extroverted and you love being around people, food service, bartending, that might be right up your alley and you've just never done it before. So I don't think you should shy away from it. There are other things that you maybe have tried and you know that that is not the right fit for you. Fine, then you could go try something else. And we have talked to people. I talked to someone just last week who was like, I really want to try my skill at bartending. I just don't know if I'd be a good fit. And they ended up, working on some recipes. They got a group of friends together and did sort of a trial. And next thing I know, they're picking up shifts as a bartender and they're like killing it. So I think people should not sell themselves short and be willing to take a risk and kind of bet on themselves, because it could pay off.
Yeah, I think if you know how to pour a beer either out of a bottle or get it out of a draft, I mean, that's helpful.
I think people can come to you with some pretty elaborate requests, though.
Well, that's true.
Behind the bar?
You're probably going to need a little bit of help.
I would be consulting an app.
Yes.
What goes into
the infamous bartending book? You mentioned warehouses. I think that's another good one. And if people get a side hustle, I think it may be just a little bit of taking a little bit to get used to, because let's just say you work 40 hours, maybe 45 hours a week full time, and then you're doing the side hustle, say like on a Saturday or something. I think after a month or so, you're used to working those those 6 days a week or the extra hours.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of getting used to, right, Kira?
Yeah, I mean, it's about building that new schedule and just getting comfortable. So if you are working a 9 to 5, and again, having that goal in mind, because it's just something to constantly keep you motivated. And I think that motivation is going to be really important. Once you get into that new beat where it's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then I'm going to go pick up this extra work on Saturday, I think very quickly you just get accustomed to that. And that just becomes your normal schedule. And then when you stop doing it, it's like, wait a minute, I kind of like using the different sides of my brain, right? And trying something different. So I think it's just about getting comfortable with it.
That's what I liked about my side hustle at the wedding dress shop, because it was just such a different experience than being a reporter. And, so I was reporting during the week and going into the shop on Saturdays and Sundays. All of a sudden I was working 7 days a week, and I was flat out exhausted, but having the time of my life while doing it, because it was two different fun competing dreams, and I never was able to get bored. There wasn't time to get bored.
I always saved, when I had my side hustle eons ago, I always saved Sundays for my day off, because I had to clean my apartment, I had to get the laundry done, I had to wash my car.
That's fair.
I mean, I had to.
There are things to do at home too.
There's life that you have to tend to. So tell us a little bit about Instawork. What is it? And for our listeners out there, if they're thinking, I think I might want to do a side hustle. Not quite sure what I want to do, but I know I want to make money. So how does your company work?
So it's super easy, actually. Instawork is an app that you would put on your phone, just like any other app that you have. It's Instawork. And so you would just look for that term in the App Store. You download it, you create a profile just like you would on any of your social media outlets. But the difference is treat it like LinkedIn, but for a side hustle. So you want to put in some of your work experience. You can get reviews from previous employers if you want. You can actually, so some side hustles like bartending or food service will require like all black dress or like bistro attire. If you have that, you can put pictures up there because it already shows the business that you're ready to rock and roll. And it's super easy. Once you have the profile set up, it takes about 24 hours to get activated. We do a background check. And then you can see the shifts that are available in your area. You can see how much you're going to make per hour. And you can also see what you're going to take home at the end of the day. So it does all of the math for you. And you're ready to go. And then you can decide what you want to do with it.
How much will our listeners have to pay? Is there a cost?
$0. We want people to leverage it and just make the most of it. And so that is at your disposal. And so you can figure out how to leverage it.
That's a win-win.
You've got a guy who's going to break into the side hustle market right after this podcast.
I think I'm going to call my wife and say, you know what? I think you need a side hustle.
You can't sign her up.
Yeah, well, why not?
Sign yourself up.
I got enough going on.
Well, what you could both work together, because that is one of my recommendations, is to bring friends and work a shift together.
Hey, look.
I like that one. That's good.
Listen, Kira, I like when I go to work, okay? I get away. Can I say that or not?
Does she listen to this podcast? Are you going to take the phone away from her before it gets to the end of it for this one?
I love you, honey. If she's listening.
There you go. Okay.
And what about the employers? So do they come to you and do they download the same app? I mean, how do you get the employer with the employee?
Sure. So the businesses will come to us and they actually have a separate platform, consider it like the back end of the platform. Well, they will post the needs that they have for the different positions. And then once they do that, that carries over to the app. And that is what the person is going to find, in terms of availability. So what we do is we take the information that is available in the person's app profile, and we use AI and all these fancy technical terms to match it with what the business is looking for so that we can bring them together in a meaningful way. And so we try to bring them together as easily and as quickly as possible, but we want to make sure it's a good fit. So we do some vetting on our end as well.
How long does it take to fill out that profile?
Shouldn't take any more than 5 to 10 minutes, depending on, again, how much experience you have, what you want to add, and if you want to get any reviews.
Is it like adding like a mini resume? Is that what that's like?
Yeah, that's essential. I think a lot of people, particularly as you get into the younger age groups, don't have resumes, right? Especially if you're graduating from college during the pandemic, it's just a lot harder to do. And if you don't have a LinkedIn, a lot of people are using LinkedIn in place of a resume, then this is what you could do for either a side hustle or if you're a member of the hourly workforce. So it captures all of that information so you have it in one cohesive place.
What a great conversation. I hope this has kind of like encouraged some people to maybe get a side hustle.
There are opportunities.
Don't become a couch potato, right? I mean, get out and be productive. If people want to find out more either about you or Instawork, where do they go?
You can go to instawork.com. You can also look for Instawork on any of the social media platforms, and you'll find us, and you'll probably find me. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
All right, Kira, thanks so much for joining us on the On Your Side podcast. Great conversation, and hopefully we've inspired some folks. So have a great day.
Thank you so much.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton, and I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock. And every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.